Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele, and I will be your nerd today, and every other day that you watch my fun little show. It's been a crazy week. I've been very busy, very busy with, honestly, editing. Last week, I had an episode dedicated to the good and evil of editing, and I'm feeling it. I have a very large editing project sitting in front of me that I need to smash out in the next handful of days. So I am trying to stay as focused as I can. I've let all of my various people who I work with and or for basically just let them know, hey, I've really got to kind of stay focused on this to get this project done, and everybody's been really cool about it. The week in Bryan is kind of a boring one. A lot of editing, more editing, and some rewriting because of editing. So that's how it's basically been. That being said, my son turned 12 this last weekend, which that is a fast way to make you feel old. Is when I realized when not to share too many details, obviously, but to think of the things that I had been doing or was doing, or the person I was when I was 12, and then basically looking and trying to see through that veneer of the past onto my son, when in my brain he is still that cute cuddly little goofball who sneaks into my room at night because he had a nightmare. He's growing up. I'm gonna try not to cry here, okay? Because y'all know me. I'm a super big sap. I'm just a giant, emotional, meltdown in waiting to happen. But it's very. I don't know if it's sobering. That's not the right word. It's just it. There's a certain level of realism that hits you when you realize that this year when I was shopping for birthday gifts and Christmas gifts, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the toy aisle. Yeah, the Nerf gun aisle and the play weapon aisle and the video games, obviously, but not nearly as much thought went into. I wonder which action figures he'll be wanting to play with. What cool new uh, you know Justice League play set can I bring home for Christmas? And that's hard for me. That's really hard for me. I was definitely. I mean, hell, you guys know me. I'm a giant kid in a grown up body shell. I still buy toys. I recently bought the collector's set of the Devastators, the 1980s classic G1 Devastators, or not Devastators, Constructicons to build Devastator. I just haven't had a chance to actually assemble it yet. I bought that from a collector in China for more than I should have. And so I still buy toys. I recently bought a special edition Hero Click, because it was one that I never had a chance to get when I was still playing steady, and now that I'm playing with my kid, now that I'm playing with Connor, I'm like looking into actually picking up some of those figures because I think that it'll be a lot of fun to play with him, with some of these other things. And so I've always bought toys. I still buy toys. My Facebook feed had a 7-inch deluxe Batman Beyond figure that like goes into flying mode and like has this cool flight stand with him and everything. And my first thought was to hit the button to find out how much it was. And then I was like, wait, no, Bryan, it's Christmas time. You've got other things to be buying, you've got other things to be putting your money toward. But I still saved the link, So like, I know I'm not that target audience when someone says, when did your kid grow out of action figures? Because I never did. I still I still have them, and I still collect them. And if I was given the opportunity, and yeah, now as a grown up, I find a way to make rules to play with them. But I still would play with them, or in certain, let that stuff spark my imagination. But yeah, so it's there's a certain there's a certain sort of heaviness to the fact that I when walking through my kid's Christmas list with him, he didn't put the new Batmobile on there. He didn't put any Star Wars stuff on there aside from like the Star Wars, the Mandalorian Nerf gun, because we all love Mandalorian because it's an amazing show. Boba Fett forever. But yeah, like, so the fact that he turned 12 this weekend, and I know 12's not a big number. 12's not like it's not 16 so you can drive. It's not 18 so you can vote, or God's forbid go into the military. It's not it's not 13 where you are no longer a pre-teen, you are an actual teenager. It's not 21 where you can drink in certain countries. It's even going to 10 double digits, and then from there on out for the rest of your life, it's 20, 30, 40, you getting into brackets, and that's not, so 12 is not a big deal. But even because of that, it you want to make a bigger deal out of it, because it's like one of the last, for a little while, it's a birthday that you kind of want to be somewhat special. And I feel really really down about it, because of quarantine, because of COVID, we can't go out and have a big celebration. We couldn't have a bunch of his friends over for a birthday party, or a giant cake, or anything like that. So we ended up asking him what he wanted for a special dinner. And kid after my own heart, he said chicken wings. So we went and got chicken wings from the chicken wing joint down the way. Brought him back here, and then we had chicken wings and birthday cupcakes. And no matter how much the little voice in the back of my head that said, he's fine, he's little, he's loving it, he's just having a good time because he's spending time with you, I wanted to do more. I wanted to be able to do more for his birthday. And it just didn't happen. So he's 12 now. 12! It's crazy. I don't know if I mentioned it last week, or I think I mentioned it last week, where we played our first legitimate game of HeroClix. And he beat me soundly. But it was because he had a huge point advantage. Well, on his birthday, we played another game with regular points. We played even points, and he beat me again. It was a combination of dice, and I wasn't about to start ripping into a bunch of tournament combos on him. Not in his second game. So there were a few times that I probably could have. I probably could have come out swinging and been a little more punitive for making mistakes, but I would much rather him learn and enjoy the game than go, man, why do I play this? My dad just smoked me. But that's not to say that he didn't actually still beat me fair and square. He really did. There was just a couple of moments in the game where I probably could have done something a little more vicious instead of what I did. But as I'm still trying to kind of teaching him, he picked up on it quick, and I think he's gonna be able to. Here pretty soon, he's gonna be able to start putting two and two together and start literally hitting me with some of those combos, because he was flipping through the cards. And he saw a couple of people, and he goes, "Oh, so this guy can do this. What if this guy does this with this?" And I was like, "Yeah, those combine really well." And he's like, "Wow!" So he's getting it. He's always had a really good tactical mind. He's played chess for years, and so it's no surprise that he's picking it up so quick, and it brings him one more step closer to being able to play with me on some of my larger games, things like Dust and 40K, and he's been one of my playtest buddies, unbeknownst to him, for Warzone. I've bounced ideas off of him. I've had him be basically the sounding board for moving models around and dice and things. So that's a it'll be a benefit when I think that tactical the 3D war game tactical mind on him kind of sort of shifts, and he and I can play or play test in some cases, and it'll be just a solid game, like not where I'm not worried about him making a giant rules mistake or skewing any numbers or anything like that, because he'll have it at that point. Or he may grow up a couple more years and decide that miniature games are not what he wants to ever play and break his dad's heart. So I'm just kidding. He obviously can do whatever he wants. But speaking of his interests, video games, brand new video game just came out this week, Cyberpunk 2077. I know it has come with a little bit. There's a little some scandal here and there, and some bugs to finish or for them to work out. But overall, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and it if it holds up for as long as it. There's not that many one-player games out there. There really isn't. There's a lot of games that are multiplayer. There's a lot of games that have a story mode, but you can tell that it's secondary. They slapped a story mode onto it so that way, it'll keep some people happy. But the idea is they want you to be playing multiplayer. For instance, the Necromunda Underhive Wars. They just announced that they're adding the Van Saar gang, which is awesome. They look great. They look like they're going to have a bunch of plasma weaponry and stuff. They look just like the models, and that's fantastic. But I still haven't even finished the story mode for that because it's really hard. Honestly, it's not a matter of whether or not it's too short or too long. It's just really hard. But the multiplayer in that game, it actually, when you go to try and play multiplayer, it actually asks you, hey, have you played through the story mode? Because there's a bunch of stuff that you're going to be doing that you might not know how to do yet. So think about it. So I kind of appreciate it that the game wants you to complete the story mode before you get into the multiplayer thing. Well, Cyberpunk has no multiplayer. It is 100% first player game, solo play game, and I really appreciate that. It's one of the things that I loved about the Fallout franchise up until 76, which I still love 76, but you get my drift. Is that there are some games out there that were obviously designed for solo play. Skyrim, Fallout, most of the Grand Theft Autos, although I don't like them, they are still definitely very much solo play games. Those are games that I can appreciate because they put a lot of effort into their story, especially the longer those games are. And from what I understand, Cyberpunk is a pretty in-depth big game. So I'm excited to see how that goes. I know one of my subscribers, they had said that they were hoping that I might be able to record some clips and maybe do like a review of the game. And maybe I can. I'll see what I can do. I play on Xbox, mostly because I have a hard time playing video games on my computer because this is the workspace. But I might be able to. I don't know. I really don't know. I may have to look into how to record clips or whatever, and then like email them to me, and then put them into a video or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I can do. I'm no Twitch master by any stretch. But yeah, so that's pretty much that. We started I had a really really solid meeting with Alex from Warzone earlier this week. Part of it was me to let him know that I was, I'm up to my eyeballs in editing. So, please, please, please don't give me anything heavy that I need to lift for the next week or so. But we discussed a few things. We came up with a couple of a couple of not issues. That's not the right word. A couple of waypoints or like milestones that we're really we're getting really close to hitting or overcoming. And so hopefully, as playtest moves forward, we're getting to that point where he and I are actually starting to talk about what we're going to have laid out in the book. What are we going to put in the book? What are we going to do any extra froofy froof in the book? Is there going to be online froofy froof? Froofy froof being a technical term for extra cool stuff to help people get their brain in the game or whatnot. So that was a really good meeting. It was a really fun meeting. And I look forward to having a little extra free time soon to be able to dive into a couple of things that he and I talked about, and to move into the into honestly one of the in my opinion, mind you, Alex could say otherwise, into one of the last legs of playtesting. Aside from the rules themselves are coming together unbelievably well. The playtest on the rules has showed us a few problems, of which we fixed, as far as I can tell. It's highlighted a few things that certain players may think are issues, but we've tried to highlight the fact that it's not an issue; it's a feature. We're designing the game to be this way. There are a few things that Alex and we sat down on, at least on one particular instance, where we sat down and the decision was made. They were like, you know what, neither of us are in love with this aspect, and enough of the playtesters have mentioned it that screw it, let's change it. It is possible that it's not going to ruin our design. It's not going to ruin the game if it goes the other way. Let's just have it go the other way and see what happens. So I'm really excited. But like I said, I'm hoping to get some free time here relatively soon, because I know I'm rambling a little bit, but one of the things, so timing wise, when it comes to designing something, is you design the rules, you design enough units to be able to playtest the rules, and then when you're in a satisfactory position where you believe you have the right rule set, or at least it's close enough that from here on out it's just going to be tweaks. You're not going to have any major giant core things getting gutted and ripped out. Is that you then take those handful of testing troops that you're using, and you expand it from there, and you start building up the actual factions and forces of the game that you're playing, or the game that you're building. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Is the rules themselves are I would say 95% done. The other 5% is leftover tweaks, is leftover adjustments, tweaks, changes that, based off of playtesting. And then what Alex and I are doing is we're actually basically building these the structure of the factions in chunks. Call them waves, call them chunks, call them sections, whatever, insert whatever thing you're doing. But basically, it's a short lineup of a couple of units for each faction, and then the next section is a couple of chunks of faction things for each faction, and so forth and so on. And what that's been doing is that it's been letting me make sure that I have as many of the like special weapon traits or special model traits that we're planning on using for these models, to have as many of them tested and in the book, in the main core rules as possible. Because the goal here is that when you get this core rule book, you'll be able to read, you'll be able to understand how everybody's powers works, even though it's also going to be listed, when the units come out and whatever. But you'll be able to know and possibly infer which models might get what, that sort of thing. It basically gives you a really good idea of how the game is going to progress forward. Well, I've been doing a lot of that. I've been doing a lot of designing these units, these units for as the game progresses. So that way, hopefully, soon we'll be able to start seeing some of these additional models start getting tested. Which will be awesome, because I always love hearing back when someone's like, I love this model. Like, I'll say, I love the Martian Banshees. They're fantastic. They play perfectly. They're exactly what I thought they would be. And that speaks to me. That means that I've got my head in the game and I know what I'm doing. And not to mention, I'm making these units individual and fun enough that someone didn't just say, I enjoy the game, I play Capital. Someone says, I love this game, I love my Martian Banshees, these dudes do work. And that's what I want to hear. That's what, when it comes to the playtests, yeah, we don't all want fanfare, we want proper notes, but in those notes, if someone says, you got these guys dead on, you know exactly what you wanted with these dudes, what these dudes do, and they do what they're supposed to do. And that's what I'm shooting for. So what I'm trying to do now is, in the time when I have time to do so, is I'm expanding our catalog of forces, by creating and stuff, getting them ready for test, but also adding their various weapon abilities and special and model abilities into the book, so that way it won't be a surprise when this sort of thing happens. It won't be a, oh my god, I can't believe this power exists when a new unit comes out, because you know the power exists, you know the trait exists because it's in the book. You already know there might be other models that use this trait to a different degree. And it gives us our, I don't want to say universal set of terms, but it does give us a really cool ground base to be able to build models from in the future. And that's really, once the core rules are done, aside from doing major rule overhauls and like additions and evolutions of the rules themselves to make other versions or larger versions or that sort of thing, really from there on out, the only part of the game to expand is units, is different types of units, different models to buy, and then scenarios and things. But overall, once that core book is done, it comes down to the minis, it comes down to the factions, it comes down to the different releases, to keep the game going. And so that's I love doing that, and that's what I'll be doing very shortly for some very cool stuff. But I have to get through this edit first. One other thing, now that we're past, we're not past the weekend, Brian. This goes hand in hand. I get to play D&D twice last week, both over Zoom, obviously. Once I got to play my Way of Rhythm and Flow Cat Monk, which we had a great time running through. We're down in the sewers fighting a bunch of Yuan-Ti, and one of our compatriots is a Shadow Warlock, and got a couple of really good rolls on some damaging spells and made things a lot easier on us moving forward. But that was fun, and then for the first time, we played a Curse of Strahd game, a bunch of first level nobody characters. I am playing a Brass Dragonborn Paladin, my plans of which are to go into the Kaleidoscopic Oath when I reach 3rd level. So I am a servant of chaos and anarchy, so to speak. Signs to be seen everywhere. What I didn't know going into it is one of the other characters in the group is playing a barbarian who is the barbarian infused with wild magic. So there's two of us that are basically servants of chaos and randomness. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how whether or not it is so infuriating that we end up getting killed, or if all the randomness kind of balances itself out and we make decent headway there in Ravenloft. So I don't know. It was a lot of fun. We look forward to playing again. Um, I can't wait to start gaining some levels to get to use some of my cool powers. But you know, first level characters. It's been a long time since I played a first level character. I will say that. There were wolves howling in the distance, and like my first instinct, because most of our games that we play start at third level. My first instinct was like, let's go kill those wolves. And one of the other players is like, man, a pack of wolves is really scary. We should, maybe see if we can't, trap one or two, or set up an ambush or something like that. And my first, I guess my knee jerk instinct was, bah, what are you scared of? And then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, no, our characters really have never been outside of the cottage. We're still relatively new, and a pack of giant wolves would be terrible and horrifying and probably rip us to shreds. So yeah, let's make this. Let's take this careful. So we'll see how that goes next time we play. We're playing next Wednesday. Is our second session. But so two of the things that I mentioned of those D&D stories are subclasses that you may never have heard of, or the only place you've heard of is through me. Well, so today, one other cool thing happened last week, and that is my first ever made on my own money, on my own dime, with my own resources and my own staff. My first DM's Guild D&D 5e supplement went onto the DM's Guild for download. I'm super proud of it. It's professionally laid out. I got a professional illustrator to do unique illustrations, and that's what today's episode is all about. I mean, I know that I've been jawing on a lot about other stuff, but today I really want to show you the product that I made. And hopefully, if you're a D&D player, or if you know a D&D player, that you will hop to the DM's Guild, do the search, which you're going to be looking for the Loremaster's Guide, Paths to Adventure, Volume 1. I would love it would be a huge help if you know anybody who's a fan of D&D. I know one of the things you can do when you click to go buy something, you can say I'm buying this for someone else, and you send them the code. You send them basically the email to the product. Right now we've been downloaded a handful of times. Nothing dramatic. It's like I said, it literally just came out. But I really would love to see some reviews. I've asked some of the TikTokers if they would review these. It is very important to me that not necessarily monetarily. Money's already spent. The illustrators have already been paid. The money's gone no matter what. I would like for it to eventually be profitable, obviously, but more than anything, I want it to do well, to set the stage, because I've already started building the second one. And my eventual goal is to do a series of these on the DM's Guild, that will just help round out other people's games, things like that. And more than anything, help me get some of the stuff rattling around in my brain out onto paper and out for people to enjoy and for people to do. to add to their games or to use as enemies, whatever. Um, but yeah, it's the let me get through the business side of things, and then we'll start talking about the actual product. It's 36 pages, 32 pages, 32 pages long. It is I've printed out a copy so I can walk you guys through it. My layout person printed it or designed it so if you print it out, double-sided pages, front to back, you can go get it like spiral bound or something like that at Kinko's. I was going to do that before I shot today's video, but it didn't happen because of COVID. I was about ready to go out and hit up a random print shop just for please put this into a binding. I don't care about the virus. I'll get it taken care of at some point. But my layout person designed it specifically that it looks like a book. It's designed to be a book. So you can print it out and then get it spiral bound or 3-ring binder, put it in a 3-ring binder, because again, if I get to do more of these, if things go well and I can do as many of these different volumes as I want, and they actually do start becoming profitable, and there's a market for more of these. My goal is to do multiple volumes of different things, so you could put these in your 3-ring binders, and it would be like a game journal of Loremaster's Guild stuff. So that's my pitch. One of the things that I will say is that specifically, I know that I priced this very low, and I had a couple people be like, "Are you kidding me? Like you spent that much money on illustrations and that much time writing and that much effort with the layout and everything. It's 32 pages long, and you are only charging $4." That's right. Actually, I hate to sound like an infomercial. It's only $4. But I am aware that this is a niche product. I am aware that on the DM's Guild, there are a lot of things that are pay what you feel it's worth, and a lot of people do free because that's their shtick. I felt that $4 is a nice. I wanted it to be less than $5. And I wanted it to be accessible to anybody. So that way, if someone's like, they hear that this exists and they go, "Man, that's kind of cool." I can't imagine that anybody who's in the role-playing hobby or a gamer who's like, "I know a D&D person that I want to buy this for," that they don't have $4. That's $4 is pretty super inexpensive. And not to pat myself on the back, but the quality of the product is worth way more. If you would see, if this was perfect bound on glossy paper in a game store, it'd be $20 easy. And I'm not like trying to pad my numbers or anything. I'm just letting you know that this is definitely, if this was a real book sold at a store, it would be $20 hands down, no question. I do it for $4 because I want it to be easy. I want it to be cheap. I want it to be in people's hands, and I want them to enjoy it. The whole point of this is to get people to have more cool stuff. And so, please, follow the link, go to the DM's Guild, and grab copies for your friends. But then, more importantly, if you're going to do that, make sure that it is somebody who will hopefully appreciate it, and then maybe we'll go to the DM's Guild site and do a review, because I know whereas downloads are important, like the number of downloads you get, but the reviews are really important. People going on there and basically saying, hey, 4 stars, this was really awesome, price was good, cool content, illustrations were nice. Would have been nicer if it was glossy or so. Whatever. I don't know what reviews I would put on something like this. But so before I get into the actual review, what I wanted to do today is basically walk you through what's in this product, kind of do an unboxing of my own product, in an effort to hopefully get any of you guys out there that are D&D fans, or fans of fantasy tropes that you might be able to use in another way, or people who are friends have friends that play D&D, that you could buy this product for as like a digital gift. It's Christmas time. They don't need to know that it was only $4. You could, if you run a game, this could be a perfect digital stocking stuffer, if you want to say that, or whatever the case may be. It's inexpensive, it's cool. I'm biased, but what are you gonna do? And you'd really be helping me and the channel and my company out, because again, my goal is on the side to be able to produce as many of these as possible, to eventually have a library chunk at the DMs Guild, to if the numbers are eventually good enough. I've heard that they will allow you to like bundle them together and create like print on demand. That would be awesome. I would love to be able to do those sorts of things. But honestly, I am only one person, and this is who's funding this. So I do need to make sure that it's not completely in vain. So I need those downloads. I need people to buy the product. Otherwise, I'm really doing it just for my own edification and my own debt increasement. Woof! All right. So without further ado, let's take a look at the actual product itself. So, give you a little history. Where it came from is a buddy of mine was talking about his DM. He had a thing on the DMs Guild, and he had just finally hit his first payout button, and was really ecstatic about it, and was telling me all about it, and tell me what the process. And he was like, it's super easy, And so we started talking about how easy it would be to put something together. And so I went into my hard drive. I've mentioned before that a freelance game designer or freelance writer, our computer hard drives are a treasure trove of half-finished stuff. And I had a bunch of ideas jotted down, half-made. Here I want to do this for an NPC at some point in one of my D&D games, or eventually when Seventh Crown comes back around, I want to do this. This particular class feature will be in there, and so I just started picking things apart. And I realized what I had, the two main chunks of what I had available were, I had a bunch of subclasses that I was putting together, and I had a bunch of monsters, and the monsters were less done, and they were less finished. There was a lot of jotting down of this is what I want to do, think about doing it in the future. Then the subclasses I had several of them completely done, just without any of the fluffy write-ups. And so I said, you know what, my first book will be, my first Loremasters Guild supplement will be a bunch of class add-ons. People love these. You always love having more options. You love having things that you can do as a DM. There's one of the best things you can ever do is surprise your players with new rules on a character or an NPC, or a villain that they did, like that they aren't expecting to have these powers because they don't know they exist, or because maybe they didn't exist previously at all. So I was like, you know what? Nope. I'm gonna make the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put together the class paths, and that's where the idea, the concept of the Loremasters Guild books came from. It's because originally I was just going to call it Path. So if you look at the cover, originally I was just going to call it Paths to Adventure, and then I thought, I was like, you know what? If I do more than one of these, I'm going to want some kind of cohesion between them. I gotta scratch my nose. some kind of cohesion between them, so that way they're, someone has already bought one, or they search one, they see multiple versions, that sort of thing as time goes on. So that's where the Lore Masters Guild came from. Was I wanted to create a narrative concept of this group of traveling adventurers or traveling scholars, academics that go around and find new and unique things in the universe or universes, and jot them down, journal them, and put them together for their own guild's kind of library. And that's what these are. These are basically their notes, their learnings over many years. And so this first volume is the Paths to Adventure, because that's the class paths, the subclasses. The next one, I believe the working title is the Threat Handbook. Basically, the lore masters jotting down new monsters and things that they found in an effort to help out the people. I know when I eventually do a magic item, a magic item volume, it'll be like the catalog of wondrous items. So they're all going to have their own sort of spiel, but they're all going to be Lore Masters Guild, and they'll have different volumes to show which, whether or not you've got them all, like Pokemon. But so let's take a look at this. So I'm not going to get too deep in there. So we've got the cover. Obviously got the credits. Talk about my different playtesters. Speaking of which, if you are ever interested in playtesting, if you're a D&D 5e fan and you're interested in playtesting one of these for me, hit me up in the comments. Send me your email address. And if you are someone who has been keeping up with the Lore Masters Guild product, so basically you've downloaded all of the current lineup, that's really now obviously this first one was different because I had to pick specific people to do my playtesting for, or to be playtesters for me. But from here on out, basically playtesting for the future books, the prerequisite to be a playtester for Ursa's Den that's my business, by the way, my business company, or my company name. So a prerequisite for being a playtester for the Lore Masters Guild supplements is to have purchased or been on the playtesting teams for previous Lore Masters Guild supplements. Not necessarily because you need to know the class paths, to know the monsters. It's more along the lines of, you've already earned my trust as a playtester, so you're in the club. Aside from that, you got to kind of prove yourself that you're not just doing it to get your name in a book. If that makes any sense. So we got the credits, you got the table of contents, you got your forward, things as all the stuff that you would normally see in a book. And then as you turn the page, I really wish I had this spiral bound. Maybe I should have just dealt with the virus and done it. So the first thing we have here is the Woadsman. It is a barbarian path that, for those of you who are familiar, Woad is the tribal grease paint that the Celts and a lot of the old Gauls, and I believe the Picts even used to the Pictish people even used to use it. But it was basically like berries and fruits and fungus and animal fats and things all mixed together into like different shades of paint, and they would wear it to intimidate their opponents, to kind of highlight their position in the tribe, and in some cases they would mix hallucinogens, certain types of mushrooms, into this grease paint to make them into like these just mad berserkers. So what I did is I took a barbarian and gave them the ability to control and steer their rage with this paint. By painting particular, designs on them, they allow their rage to do specific things instead of just being, all right, I rage, I do extra damage, blah. Now it's let's see, I rage and I've got resistance to all forms of non-magical damage and an immunity to being frightened or charmed, because I specifically painted a Celtic knot, over a particular part of me. Or I did the woad on my fingers, and it's made them like, numb and hard to pain, so they almost act like claws in close combat. That's the kind of thing that this woad allows these guys to do. So that's the woadsman. That's the first barbarian path. And so one of the benefits to having a wife who is an amazing graphic artist. So I paid an actual illustrator to do the. I paid a professional illustrator named Kelsey Knudsen. Kelsey did all the character art for my different class paths, so they're all unique pieces. They're all specific characters in my Loremaster's Guild world. But one of the benefits of having my wife being such an amazing artist was she's also a really good graphic artist. She did all the layout and all of the kind of the background graphic stuff. So like I drew what the different woad signs were, like what the different symbols were, and so she put them in the back of, like in the background as like almost like a kind of faded thing, so that way when you're playing a woadsman, you know what your guy's actually got on him. It's just it's a neat little touch. But then as we were doing the layout to the book, she also because as it goes, text only goes so far, and you don't want to change the text font just to make it bigger or smaller and fit. It's cheating. So it's what she ended up doing is letting me know where in the book, once the book was laid out, where there was big spaces, where there would be huge chunks of space, and then I added an extra flair. So like in this one, there's a little letter here, a little handwritten letter from a Loremaster scribe talking about when he was allowed to use his friend the woadsman, when he was allowed to use a sample of his friend's woad and what happened. So it's little character tidbits to help build the world around it. So the next subclass that we've got is the College of Fascinations, the Bard. So this actually stems from the reason why this exists is a TikTok conversation about there's a in the D&D community, especially like the D&D cosplay community, there's a lot of talk about how bards seduce everything. They try to hump the dragons. They try to hump the bad guys. They try to hump the good guys. And it's just a running gag in D&D. One of the other running gags is that bards are fabulous. And they are just so fabulous. And that, so in one of these conversations, someone talked about how they wanted to make a legitimate glitter bard. And a glitter bard would basically be someone who uses spells to enter a room and be the center of attention, or to when they cast a fireball, there's like music that goes along with it, for maybe not for any particular reason, but just fun. I was part of that conversation on TikTok late at night, and I told them that I was like, I'm gonna make a glitter bard. And they were like, okay, ha ha ha. And I was like, no, literally, I'm going to make one that's not just comic relief. That's actually a useful subclass of bard for people to want to play. And so this is where the College of Fascinations came from. It is basically like almost like a fashionista bard, where these guys, yeah, they have a lot of flair and a lot of pomp and a lot of, look at me, I am the center of attention, fear me. But they also have ways to... bards are really good at inspiring their teammates, but in this case, the College of Fascinations, they they want they don't want to inspire you to do one great thing. They want you to look the part to inspire others, or to basically believe in yourself. So like someone could, the fascinator bard will doll up one of his cohorts to look and feel like one of the living legends from their own mythology. And so he fills them with so much, you are Thor. You are the god of freaking thunder. Go out there, beat that ass. And that's what the College of Fascinations does, is that basically through their magic, through their ability to instill feeling in people, they turn people into a canvas and use that canvas to make them more than they ever thought they could be. And that's what the Glitter Bard turned out to be. And I'm super happy with him, and I can't wait to start hearing people using it to tell us what their Glitter Bard did. The next subclass we've got is the Litnist. The Litnist, you can tell she's a cleric who's reading a book and is covered in a bunch of like scroll tip kind of things, or scroll little things. What the Litnist is that rather than being a domain that is devoted to a particular aspect of a god, of one god, it is someone who is devoted to the letter, the written word of their various gospels, the tenets of different faiths. That it's almost like the Litnist can kind of pick and choose what they want out of different domains, but the concept is a cleric that is bound by the idea that all of the gods have got it right, at least a little bit. And so they pick and choose little tiny bits of, well, this particular writing says this, and that makes so much sense, and so maybe that day they take that chunk of writing and they focus on it, and they make it that writing is their law for today, and that gives them some kind of special benefit or special power. And it allows them to basically they take oaths to themselves. They wax, they seal these oaths to their bodies or to their weapons. It basically saying, this god teaches us this, and I'm going to show the world that that's right, because they taught reading in this god's holy text. I understand that this is a true and a true and powerful way to live, and today I'm going to live that truth. And that's what the Litnist does, is they basically read and decipher all manner of holy texts in an effort to show the world that the gods are really in charge. The next one, this is one of my favorites because it's creepy. So the Druid subclass, the Circle Below, you'll note that she's got a giant centipede across her shoulders, and she's holding a snail, and she's got this weird little earthworm thing crawling up her leg. So what she is, or what this subclass is that it's basically a circle devoted to all of the creepy crawlies. Not necessarily like the evil, just worms and slugs and bats and grubs and centipedes, all the creepy crawlies that don't normally get a lot of attention, a lot of love, because they're subterranean and just a little creepy. This is a druid who is devoted to those. Not to say that I know that I don't think I've played a druid in a long time. But I think the next druid I play will definitely be dedicated to the Circle Below, not just because I'm biased, but because I love the concept of basically eventually at a certain level the druid gets to shape change into like giant centipedes and spiders and things, and focus on that. But they also get to basically, as a person, like just tunnel through soil and sand and dirt and sleep underground in the safety of in the safety of the loose soil around them, and then eventually their highest power allows them to basically break into a swarm. Like basically their body falls apart into 1,000 slugs. Or ants or squirrels or not squirrels or slugs or grubs or worms or whatever. Whatever the creepy crawly that you're into at that exact moment, you basically break into a giant, you fall apart, and that's always been a image in my head that I love. When Dracula turns into a cloud of bats, or when Oogie Boogie in Nightmare Before Christmas, he's a potato sack and he comes apart and he's just like a pile of bugs that slowly falls apart. That's always an image that I loved, and that's what the highest power of this druid can do. Let's see. The fighter subclass is the Beast Blade. This is one of my favorite pieces of art from Kelsey. It's got a Triton fighter and his like pet shark in the back. They've got like the same little facial tattoos, that sort of thing. And basically, what the Beast Blade is, it is the so you've always seen rangers with an animal companion. Where they're like just best friends and they like hang out, but best buddies. Well, the Beast Blade is almost more like a gladiator who has learned to kind of have that sort of connection with an animal, and the two of them fight like a pair. I'm sure they're close. They are bonded because they share. They've shed blood together. But it is more of a, we are two soldiers in the same unit, rather than, hey, this is my best buddy Ted, And one of the things that the Beast Blade can do is, they basically kind of share their initiative almost, so they can do a 1-2 punch. Their initiative is always right next to each other, so you can make sure that like after I hit you, this guy's gonna hit you next. Or like, let's say that you're a Beast Blade who is connected to a wolf. It's perfect with like pack tactics or the trip attack, and then your guy comes in and finishes him off. So this is basically a completely combat based two-person, like you basically come with your own fighting friend. Now the art shows the Triton with the shark because I just thought that would be fantastic. Obviously, in most games that's not gonna go real well because the shark isn't really dungeon worthy. But if you were playing an all aquatic game, that'd be rad. But like for most of the time, I'm sure it's gonna end up being like a badger or a tiger or a puma or whatever kind of animal is could go. I'm sure there'll be a lot of hunting mastiffs and things that will go with this. But it also, you don't, with the Beast Blade, you don't actually have to abide by one particular animal. You don't have to be like, oh, at 3rd level, pick an animal, this is your animal. That's not the case. You can actually bond different animals to you, only one animal at a time. But let's say that you start with a giant mastiff. Like you get 3rd level on this, you go to the nearest big city, and you're like, I want that war dog because I need to have a companion to use a bunch of my abilities. So you go buy a giant war dog, but then 3 or 4 game sessions down the road, you have the opportunity to capture and train a direwolf. Maybe time to upgrade into a direwolf. Or as the game progresses, eventually maybe you get into like a basilisk or something gnarly. There's nothing that says that you can't upgrade your critter, because again, it's not necessarily this is like your best friend and you love him to death. The two of you are fighting to help each other survive in a battle. Oh, and then here we go, the monk. This is the Way of Rhythm and Flow, the capoeira style monk. I am having a blast with this guy. He is, I won't lie, he is very dicey. because once you get this power, it allows you to basically, if you've never watched capoeira, pause this video, go do a YouTube search for capoeira competitions. It is first off, it's like mesmerizing to watch these guys just as they back and forth and dancing and always in motion and flipping and going and turning and rolling and flipping up and over, and even when they're not fighting, they're still moving. And so the concept of the way of rhythm and flow is basically a monk that uses that sort of music and dance to add to their fight. And so you start off by using dance to make yourself harder to hit. So you use performance basically to set a better armor class depending on what you roll. And as someone who is now, I'm a level 5 way of rhythm and flow monk in my game, more often than not, I roll better than my unarmed armor class that you get from just like the monk ability. But every once in a while, the dice land and I go, this is a terrible turn for me. This turn I'm going to get hit a lot. And the way, narratively, the way that comes in is that basically you make a misstep. You lost your rhythm and you kind of, you stumble dance, and it makes you an easier target for a second. And then, of course, later editions allow you to, dance into hitting people harder, build up your momentum, having all kinds of different attacks become one attack because you're so focused in the motion of everything, and it just kind of adds up everything until it's one big pow. I think of all of the class add-ons, this is probably one of the ones that came to me the most simplest. It was there's no real good way to do capoeira with a regular D&D monk. I want to do that, and I think that this is the one that fits the best, in my opinion, for that concept. And then the next thing that I'm playing currently, the Kaleidoscopic Oath. This is a paladin. You'll notice he's got like a sword tied to a stick. He's got multicolored like splats in his hair. His armor doesn't match. So basically, it is a paladin who, instead of serving a particular deity or giving an oath to a higher power, they give an oath to the flow, the natural chaotic flow of the world. Ian from Jurassic Park, the concept of chaos theory, that everything isn't moving, everything is different. You'll see the signs, and they'll be different tomorrow. That's what the Kaleidoscopic Oath is basically you find power and purpose in making sure that the world does not come grinding to a stagnant halt. And they get a little bit of wild magic. They can adjust. They eventually get an aura that basically adjusts reality, that allows you and your allies to just choose to go, you know what, I want to take advantage on this roll. Haha, I'm gonna use your chaos field to give me reality, or to give me advantage. And then the DM effectively just writes down how many times this gets used, because it's the number of natural 20s that are canceled and turned into catastrophic failures, because the pendulum swings both ways. If you want the benefit, eventually it's going to come back and it's going to swing back the other way. That's how chaos works. But I think my favorite aspect of the Kaleidoscopic Oath is not even a power. It's the fact that they don't have a holy symbol, because they don't worship a particular deity. Instead, their holy symbol is whatever whatever happens to be nearby when they get the feeling that they need to channel divinity, or when they get the feeling that they need to cast a spell. It could be, in this case, I've got this book. This is my, here you go. My daily panic journal is what I'm using. But then, like, the next time they go to, like, do a spell, they look around and they grab, and by the power of the hand sanitizer, it is anything. And I love the idea that in a moment that could be a general, like, a serious moment, like a tavern brawl, or you're, in this situation, that, like, the kaleidoscopic paladin could look around and, like, scoop up a tavern goer's bowl of soup, and hold it up above his head to cast a spell, and then, like, put it back down again, be like, hey, thanks, like that's it's not even a rule so much as it's just kind of part of what these guys are, and that's one of my favorite things. The next one, the next class path in this book is the Wrangler. And if you'll note, this is a Goliath hog tying a direwolf. So the Wrangler is a ranger that imagine the Beastmaster Ranger, except instead of taming beasts, it is almost like a rodeo ranger. They're a master of a lasso, master of a whip. It is their role is to basically incapacitate and steer and adjust other combatants, things that they train to do. Most of the time, that's going to be animals. But depending on what your ranger is particularly favored against, you could absolutely use it to lasso and hog tie people. Let's say that you make your wrangler into a bounty hunter, and so now you use your ability to incapacitate at range to tie someone up and keep their movements from going a particular way with your lasso. That's the things those are the things that the wrangler can do. The next one, I think, is going to be this is going to be the one that is the most fun for role players, in my opinion, because almost all of the powers of the Rake. It's a great piece of art. Kelsey did a great job. It's got a tiefling beanbag chair lounging with a little spinning. This is what I stole from you. So the Rake is just like your regular rogue. He still has, sneak attack and expertise and stealth and all that kind of stuff. But all of the benefits from the Rake are verbal. It is conversation. Basically, it allows them to use their words, their half-truths, their lies. They're just pleasant conversation in almost a hypnotic pattern to, at first, just basically sway people to your, to kind of your side of the argument. To get people to initially just kind of believe in what you're saying. Maybe get this guy to stick up for you when he has no idea who you are. He finds himself being like, yeah, that's right. And then after he goes, wait, why do I care what that guy did? I guess he's really convincing. To eventually being legitimately almost magical, siren-like in how they can talk to a crowd, talk to people. They literally hypnotize people with their voice to get them to do things, or forget things, or that sort of thing. And I think that the Rake is going to be one of those. If you are a rogue that likes to get in trouble, or likes to ride that fine line, but you don't want to be, leaving a trail of dead bodies everywhere you go, the Rake is where it's at. A new sorceress origin. It's called the Ingestive Alchemy, or Ingestive Alchemist is the person who does it. You've got this little gnome here who has bitten the head off of some kind of weird lizard, and it gave her fire breath. So basically, the Ingestive Alchemist is a sorcerer who has instinctively figured out that every living thing has something in it that has a little spark of magic. That toad might have a kidney that if you get the kidney out and you tuck it in your lip and you swallow it, you bite down at the right time, then boom, your lightning bolt is a little better. Or you breathe underwater for an hour, or whatever. And so that's what the ingestive alchemist does. Is they're gross, but it allows them to fuel their magic initially with these little kind of bits and bobs of other creatures. But then eventually it allows them to basically steal the special abilities and special traits and unique powers of other creatures by figuring out what part of them to eat. So like you kill this nasty venomous creature, and the ingestive alchemist figures out that, oh, don't take the venom glands, but if you take the last half of the tongue and salt it just perfectly, I can be venomous. Or down to the point where it could be maybe even you kill a basilisk, and instead of taking its eyes, because that just seems normal, there's a part of the brain that the ingestive alchemist can eat, and I can get that petrifying gaze. That's the kind of stuff that the ingestive alchemist can do when given time. The warlock other class or subclass is the werelock. A little play on words. It is basically someone who gets their power, their warlock powers, from the primordial forces that created the original lycanthropes. So it allows them to not only have magic, but it taps into kind of a wild, beastly side of them that allows them to be like a physical, like not like I don't change into a dog, but like a physical. Like if you look at the art, she's got like this kind of bestial look, and she's got some fur, and she's got claws on one of her hands. That's the kind of thing that you can manifest in yourself, and then eventually you get to a point where you can manifest that sort of frenzy behavior in other people, which can really throw off someone's game. Only two more, and then we'll let you go. I know we're running a little bit later than normal. So we've got the Wizard Arcane Tradition. This is, I know I keep saying this is one of my favorites. So I love this one because it was actually, it was inspired by, if you know Dwarven Forge as a company, the CEO, head cheese, the main guy there is Stefan Pecornoy. I think I hope I said his last. I know Stefan's right, but I don't know if I said his last name right. I hope I did. Stefan plays a lot of D&D, and a lot of times he plays like a halfling or a gnome, or a squeaky pointy-headed wizard. But it's a lot of times I'll see him running around in like a cloak and a pointy hat at conventions, and for whatever reason, when I was putting together this class path, I kept thinking of Stefan. And it is called the Kitchen Witch. It is someone who has learned to circumvent certain aspects of material components by using baked goods, by using... whereas like a witch mixes potions, a kitchen witch bakes cookies, bakes breads, makes rock candy that gives you stone skin. Like it allows them to put their spells into food items, or sometimes multiple spells into food items that like will hold for a little while, and you can eat it and make it go. For the most part, you're not going to see a lot of the kitchen aspect like in battle. You might have, like, a kitchen witch might brew up a few things, bake a few things, and keep them, for when they go into battle, and then the almost like having a limited time, tastier versions of potions. But there's also one of my playtesters. They immediately were like, "Oh my god, you could totally make like a tray of like amped up sleep muffins and bring them to the guards on watch." Like, or you just leave a smelly tray, like a basket of sweet bread for the two guards at a prison where it's dank and nasty, and you leave them there and go, this is for this is for you guys. Thanks for watching out for us. That guy in there is a nasty piece of work, and they eat these muffins and they fail to save and they fall super asleep because they ate your mystic muffins. That's what the Kitchen Witch does. And then the last one, this was actually one that I was debating even adding, because it's not, I wanted to originally to do just the Player's Handbook classes, to do subclasses, but I decided that when I had heard that Tasha's Cauldron of Everything was going to have a bunch of subclasses, but also was going to be the official release of the D&D Artificer from Eberron, I was like, nope, I'm going to include him too. And so what I did is I made the prostheticist. That's right. That's hard to say. Prostheticist. The prostheticist is a artificer like anybody else. He makes devices and stuff, but his devices are focused on the repair, replace, and augmentation of the body. So he starts out as just basically kind of a pretty good healer for an artificer. He actually does some healing, but his healing involves like staples and wire and hold still, this bone needs a plate attached to it. And like he literally physically adds these metal chunks to you, which have their own, interesting narrative aspect. Eventually getting to the point where he can start doing surgery to replace entire body parts with augmented, effectively like steampunk cybernetics in D&D. But I do believe my favorite part of the prostheticist is his final power allows him to, as an artificer, they have spells. He gains reincarnate, but unlike the regular reincarnate spell, where you have to roll on a table to find out what you come back as, the artificer version of reincarnate, you always come back as a warforged. Basically, the prostheticist only knows one way to do the spell, and that's to build you a new body and put your soul in it. And I love that aspect. I mean, does it kind of shoehorn someone into, well, you're going to play a warforged if this prostheticist gets his way? But I love the concept of like I would love an NPC, like a high-end NPC prostheticist, who maybe like this town, someone walks in and like looks around and there's just an abnormal number of warforged walking around, like just a ton of them, and it's like, God, but they're like farmers, they're not heroes, like there's a farmer warforged, there's a cattle driver warforged, there's the priest, he's a warforged, just like one of those, but they're living with regular people, like no one seems to notice or care, and they're not being used as soldiers or anything like that. Then you find out it's because this town is under the protection of a very high level prostheticist, and he is very big on building new bodies for villagers that are cut down before their time, that sort of thing. I think that'd be a really cool setting. So that is a quick down and dirty Paths to Adventure Volume 1, the Loremasters Guild Paths to Adventure Volume 1, from the DM's Guild's $4. Please follow the link. And again, the more downloads of this product that happen, in the DM's Guild algorithm, the higher I will crawl up on that list, so more people will see it. The better reviews, the more people will see it. So please, please, please. I mean, hell, even if you are not a DM or a D&D player, or you don't have somebody who is a D&D player, but you want to help the channel, you want to help me make more cool stuff in the future, and do more collectively as a company, please follow the link and give it a download. Hell, you might just enjoy the read. I am biased, but it's pretty well written. Yeah, so please follow the link. Please give it a download. Buy copies for your friends. Tell your friends. Share the link. I hate to sound so like this is such a shameless plug, but this is very important to me. And you guys have been with me on the channel. You know the kind of stuff that I do and the stuff that I love. And I would love to be able to do more of this to keep putting a smile on my face and making cool stuff for other people. Because that's what this is all about. So, without further ado, I've held you longer than I normally do, but I really wanted to get through all those class paths to show you what the book contains. So please, 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 go ahead and give it a search, give it a review, give it a buy, give it a multiple buys. Send to your friends. Fill all your stockings. Everybody gets a Path to Adventure. Oprah this thing. I don't know where we're going. But more than anything, even if you don't, I love you guys. Stay safe. Get out there. Enjoy yourselves. Put a smile on someone else's face. Put a smile on your own face. But more than anything, play some games. We'll see you next week.